One of the important roles of the architect is to make the life of the business user easier. So whoever's going to be writing your reports, the more things that you can put in this report tree that's going to be of value to them, the better. So I want to go over one more thing related to the architect, and that's applying SQL functions and transforming data. Pretty easy concept once you see it, but let's start by adding in a date field. So I'm going to, underneath employee, is a couple of dates. Now I'm going to select the folder I want to add it in. I would probably create a new folder for my dates, but let's add in the hire date. And what I'm going to do initially is just add in the raw date. Now, by default, you'll see that the data type is character. I do want to change that into either a date field, or because this has a date and a timestamp, I'm going to scroll down until I see DPO, which represents date part only. We have all these data type definitions at support.yurbi.com. So I'm going to add in my date as a date part only. And now let's imagine that your builders also wanted to do reports by the month name or the year, or to do the week number, and look how many employees were being added per week or something like that. Instead of making them add that formula in the builder, you can use a SQL function and add that right into your tree here. So what I'm going to do is go back into and add that hire date one more time. Same field. And this time I'm going to call it hire date month name. And the way I find these, and if you're familiar with SQL functions, you already have them, but Microsoft SQL has tons of functions, and one is date name, and you'll see it takes a parameter of date part. So I can convert this date into pretty much anything. I'm using Microsoft SQL. You might be using MySQL or Postgres. They all have similar type of things. But in this case, what I'm going to do is inside this SQL name, I'm going to type date name. I'm just going to type that function. And in this case, I want to show it as a month. So I'm going to put the month part. And this is the key thing about how you add this in the architect. What I want to do is have the field name, which is why I didn't overwrite it. I kept that hire date in. That's the actual SQL field name. But I need to put in the table alias. So that in this case is EMP. So what I'm going to do is do EMP and a period between. So I've got table area alias dot field name. And I'm going to wrap that up with an n paren. Now, depending on your database, your functions might require, square brackets, backticks. It's different per database. This is for Microsoft SQL, what I'm demonstrating here. But I'm going to go ahead and save this, and I'm going to keep it as a character because we're transforming it into a name. And now I've got both of those fields in my tree. Let's go ahead and test that out. I'll right click, open up my builder. I'll pick the app we're working on, the report type we're building, and I added those right here, as you can see. Let's go ahead and see. Now first, this was my date part only. That looks right. And now I'll bring in that month name, and you can kind of see November, November, December, December. My formula is working properly, and now I've transformed that data. You could do that with any SQL function, a case statement, any of your date time things. So that gives you a lot of power to make this tree very useful to the people in your organization that are going to be building.